हेलो व्यूअर्स एंड वेलकम बैक टू 5 पैसा। मैं हूं देवांशी आशर, आपकी होस्ट, और मेरे साथ हैं आज बहुत ही स्पेशल इंसान। वो हैं विश्वजीत। ही इज द फाउंडर ऑफ क्विको, विच इज़ अ टैक्स फाइलिंग। बेसिकली आप रिटर्न्स फाइल कर सकते हो और बहुत कुछ कर सकते हो वहाँ पे जाके। एंड ही इज ऑल्सो फाउंडर ऑफ सैंडबॉक्स। नाउ टुडे वी हैव इन्वाइटेड हिम टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप क्विको से कैसे फ्री में टैक्सेस फाइल कर सकते हैं। And it's not just the money part, it's about how easily you can file your taxes, ताकि आप 31st तक रुके नहीं एंड चैन की नींद 31st के बाद सो सके। सो विश्वजीत, हाय, गुड इवनिंग, थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग विद अस टुडे।
Devanshi,
विश्वजीत,
thanks a lot for having me here. It's a text month, and I'm really excited to be here and share all the insights and learnings and all the looking forward to having all the interactions with your amazing audience.
अगर आपके पास कोई भी क्वेश्चंस हैं, कोई भी क्वेरीज हैं, तो आप हमें कमेंट सेक्शन में पूछ सकते हैं। बट प्लीज रिमेंबर, दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट। यू हैव टू फाइल योर इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न्स विदाउट फेल। 31 जुलाई तक आपको करना है। डेडलाइन काफी क्लोज आ रही है। अगर आपको कोई भी डाउट है तो आप अभी क्लियर कर सकते हैं एंड क्विको पे जाके क्विकली अपने रिटर्न्स फाइल कर सकते हैं। नाउ विश्वजीत, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मुझे ये बताइए कि आपको कभी खुद को, आप सीए नहीं हो, you have done your masters in engineering, so I would like to know कि वहाँ से आपको tax filing में कैसे interest आया to like serve people such amazing thing. How did this come to your mind?
So Devanshi, I was just telling you, I think anybody who goes to West Coast, I ended up going for my masters to USA, and anybody who ends up going to East Coast ends up working in finance, and anybody who goes to West Coast ends up working in hardcore tech, right? All the Googles and Apples and Facebooks of the world are on the West Coast. All the Fidelities and Vanguards and State Streets and BlackRocks are on the East Coast. New York being the epicenter of it. So fortunately or unfortunately, I ended up on the East Coast, and I ended up working in finance and technology for a long time. Anecdotally, I started my career in 2008 at the peak of financial crisis, and I have some really exciting, funny stories around it that I oftentimes share with my team here. But like you said, as an engineer, what I can do is I can challenge the first principles. I can think from first principles point of view when it comes to taxes, right? So instead of thinking that one kirana shop owner who is taking everything in cash, how would I do taxes for him? We were able to think of millions of traders, investors who are trading through their demat accounts, whose ledgers are all digitized. How do we solve taxes for them? And I think it was no brainer. We needed a technology platform that has focus on investor trader, and that's how we started building Quicko. And today, with help from 5Pesa and similar tech-enabled brokerages, we are serving more than 1.5 million customers do their taxes on the platform. So that's a very short story. Devanshi, are you on mute? Sorry.
Sir, thank you. So, I mean, when did Zerodha happen? Zerodha, so let me tell you viewers, Quicko is backed by Nitin Kamath, Zerodha's firm, जो इन्वेस्ट करते हैं बहुत सारी कंपनीज में. So, Vishwajit, how did this happen?
No, I think what they've been able to do is build a really investor-focused, tech-enabled brokerage, and they always have a keen eye on other people who are building similar kind of products that can help investor community. They've invested in a lot of iconic platforms, and when some of Nitin's core team members use Quicko to file their income tax returns, they really like the product. They like that it had a lot of focus on user experience, integrations with brokerages, etc. And that's how they ended up investing. They usually, I think, invest like that. The products that they themselves use and they like, they end up investing in those. But I think more importantly for us, the whole broking ecosystem has been the enabler or catalyst, so to speak. Today, we integrate with 13 out of 15 largest brokerages. And if you go to any of these brokerages, you would very seamlessly be able to come onto Quicko. So Zerodha helped us enable and build an MVP that we were able to show all the other brokerages that this is possible, and everybody has very openly accepted us, including the competitors have
Right.
very openly accepted, because it's a pain point that the entire trading investing community faces. It's not just zero the investor traders, right?
It is still not like a competitive sector अभी तक, क्योंकि अभी भी अगर कुछ लोग एंटर करते हैं तो इसकी ज़रूरत है, बिकॉज देयर आर सो मेनी पीपल जिसको कोई ना कोई रीजन से वो लोग इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न्स फाइल नहीं कर पाते. ओके, नाउ क्विकली देयर सो मेनी क्वेश्चंस कि हमें कौन से फॉर्म्स भरने हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, व्हेन यू आर सिटिंग फॉर लाइक फाइलिंग योर रिटर्न्स, आपको क्या क्या चाहिए होगा, यू नो व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट यू नीड टू कलेक्ट एंड यू सिट for filing your returns. Take it ahead.
Absolutely. So I think I have a very small pitch deck. I have
Sure.
covered all these common topics. Starting from how to what is the tax treatment of people investing into stock markets. काफी सारे friends derivative contracts भी करते हैं trade. To इनके losses का treatment कैसे कर सकते हैं, उसका भी काफी लोगों को question होता है. टैक्स ऑडिट एक बहुत ही कॉमन क्वेश्चन है, काफी टैबू है to talk about tax audit, right? There are strict guidelines from ICA point of view in terms of what you can and cannot talk about, or how you can pitch or not pitch. Then there's also fringe topics like tax loss harvesting, जो अभी कोई बात नहीं करता है, but 31st March आएगा तब हमारे पास thousands of queries आती है from investor trader कि वो कैसे कर सकते हैं. तो I wanted to is it okay if I share the pitch deck and we
Yeah, sure, sure, please.
Awesome. So I'll be sharing my screen. I hope everybody is able to see it. I've shared it now, and I'll start from here. You are able to see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So I think Devanshi, again, thanks a lot. I think काफी income tax tax filers जुलाई में अपने income tax returns file करते हैं. Like we talked about, 31st July is the due date. India में every year about 8.5 crore returns last year file हुए थे, जिसमें से almost 60-65% returns जुलाई में file होते हैं, because these are individual tax filers who are filing their income tax return. So I think there is no better time than right now to talk about how you can file your income tax returns this year. What are the common pitfalls to keep in mind? क्या आप खुद से करेंगे, किसी की help लेंगे? We'll talk about all those common topics through this discussion. I'll try to keep it concise and short so that we can take as many questions as possible, because I know a lot of people have questions. I'm sure,
Yeah.
Devanshi, you have gathered few questions through social
Yeah.
media channels as well.
Perfect.
So I think you have already introduced me. I won't spend any more time on it, but I'm founder of Quicko. I've been building and running tax platforms for the last 8 years. We serve about 1.5 million customers on Quicko, and we are a very young team. Almost all of my team members, this is their first job. We are designers, we are developers, we are growth hackers, we are chartered accountants, and there's one common kind of bond, which is solving taxes for masses in India. That's what keeps us going. Why Ahmedabad, we discussed, just like for if you are an engineering student, you either been to Kota or you know about Kota. Same way, if you are a CA student, you either been to Ahmedabad or you know about Ahmedabad. So there are a lot of great CA institutes, and what better place to start tax platform than Ahmedabad? So we are based out of Ahmedabad. A lot of people get surprised when they hear that we are based out of Ahmedabad. It's an amazing city. Love the place, and we are building a quintessentially Ahmedabadi startup. Now, my agenda today is broadly talking about these points. I think I want to start with the kind of the most foundational question. A lot of people on our social media handles, on our support centers, commonly ask, can I treat, I've been doing intraday trading, I've only got few trades, can I report it as short-term capital gains so that I don't have to do all the bookkeeping and everything? right? Vice versa, a lot of people oftentimes feel that, hey, my short-term capital gains are taxed at 15%. Can I instead report it as a slab rate income, as business profession income, and not having to pay 15% taxes, right? And I think it all boils down to your intent as a trader or investor, right? If you're investing with an intent of long-term capital appreciation, then it's considered, it has to be reported under capital gains head. However, if your goal was to take advantage of price fluctuations, depending on macro or microeconomic situations, then that intent clearly says that you are looking to trade, you are not looking to invest, and hence it will be considered trading, and it will be reported under business profession income. So this is, I think, first and foremost, very important to understand for everyone. If we know this clearly, then I think understanding the tax treatment of different segments becomes really easy, because you could easily determine what qualifies as investing and what qualifies as trading. So I think moving on, the immediate question that comes to everyone's mind is, great, we understand now what is investing and trading, but what is the difference in tax treatment between two, right? Now, to tell you, there are two types of, there are five income heads in India, namely salary, house property, capital gains, business profession, and income from other sources. These are the five heads. So all the incomes that you earn fall in one of these five heads, right? Now, there are certain
विश्वजीत,
income.
आई एम सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट, आप अपना फुल
Yes.
स्क्रीन कर सकते हैं? आई थिंक देयर आर फ्यू पीपल जिनको थोड़ा सा विजिबल नहीं है, तो
Okay.
फुल स्क्रीन कर सकते हैं?
I
हाँ,
I think from my end, I'm full screen.
इट
Maybe we
इज,
want to change the layout.
नो दैट्स फाइन बिकॉज आई नीड टू
Okay.
सी द पीपीटी. ऑलराइट, कैरी ऑन.
All right. Are you able to see the
या,
PPT?
आई एम एबल टू सी, या.
All right, cool. Let me know if you want me to make any adjustments. Okay. So I think I was it. There are five income heads, and there are primarily what you need to understand. There are two different ways that these incomes get taxed. Right. One is slab rates, and another one is special rates. So आपका salary हो गया, ये slab rate पे tax होता है. That what are slab rates? Income tax department has announced slab rates. They continuously adjust them. So if you opt under old regime, then 0 to 2.5 lakh is completely exempt. And then there is 10, 20, and 30% depending on 2.5 to 5 and 5 to 10 and 10 and above, right? So those are the slab rates. So there are slab rate incomes and there are special rate incomes. Special rate incomes get taxed at a particular rate, irrespective of the amount, right? Now coming back, okay, how trading and investing is taxed. So I think easiest way to understand it is by talking from trader investor lingo, right? We all talk about different segments, different financial instruments. So I think if you see the leftmost column talks about different financial instruments, different segments that you could trade in or invest in, and the right hand side shows what is the tax treatment of the same, right? So the first one is equity shares, MF ETF. These are most commonly accessed financial instruments in India. If you ask me about, I think the last time I heard, almost in US market, for example, more than $40 trillion are invested into capital markets, and out of them, almost $30 trillion are invested through equity shares, mutual funds, and ETF. I'm pretty sure similar kind of stats in India, right? So most retail investors participate into the market through one of this, right? Either setting up an SIP or taking a long position on one of the companies or shares that they are bullish about. Now, when you invest into equity shares, MF or ETF, it's essentially an investing activity, and hence it will be considered under income head capital gains. Now, there are three types of capital gains. There's securities capital gains. If you are investing into financial instruments, which are otherwise called securities, then you will end up reporting your income under securities capital gains. But there are also house property capital gains, right? Real estate capital gains. If you are investing into or sold your ancestral home or your residential home or a land. And the third one is other capital gains. So anything apart from securities and real estate is considered other capital gains. So if you oftentimes people ask this question, I have I have so and so in my demat account. My portfolio is 15 lakh rupees. How much taxes do I have to pay on it? The simple answer is none, zero, right? You don't have to pay any taxes for purchasing any securities or staying invested in any securities. You only have to pay taxes when you sell them, right? Which is why they are called capital gains, because financial instruments are considered capital assets, and when you sell them and if you have any profits on it, those are called capital gains. So if you hold them for more than 365 days, they are considered long term, and if you hold them for less than 365 days, they are considered short term. The long term capital gains rate is 10% and the short term capital gains rate is 15%. Now you may ask why there's a difference between long term and short term. So the whole goal is encouraging people to invest into India's equity markets, so that businesses have liquidity, so that they can invest then back into factories and hiring people and expanding. Which is why long-term capital gains are always taxed at a lower rate than a short-term capital gains, because when you invest in anything short-term, you induce uncertainty, and which is why income tax department thinks that those should be taxed at a higher rate. Now, debt MF ETFs are a little different. These are debt instruments. For them, the long term is considered when you hold them for more than 3 years, and short term is when you hold them for less than 3 years. If you hold them long terms, you will have to pay taxes at 20%. However, here you can get benefit of indexation. Now, what is indexation? Oftentimes people ask. Essentially, if you bought something for 100 rupees in year 2000, it's if you go out to buy that today, because of inflation, it would probably cost you 150 rupees. So what income tax department is saying, say, let's say if you sold it for 200 rupees, we don't want to consider 200 minus 100 as your capital gains, but we would rather give you benefit of inflation. And hence, we'll charge you taxes on 200 minus 150, which is the inflation adjusted price, right? So when it comes to debt instruments, you can also take benefit of indexation. Now, bonds and debentures are also taxed very similarly to debt MF. These are again debt instruments, so the tax treatment is identical, right? So these are all the most common financial instruments that you could invest in. We have a lot of customers who come and say we invest in crypto or we invest in AIF or PMS. I think barring crypto, a lot of these other financial instruments at the end either use equity shares or a debt instrument as a vehicle to invest, right? So their tax treatment would also be very similar to this. Now let's talk about trading as an activity, right? When you are trading, you have options to either take a short position on a stock in form of intraday trading, or what you could do is you could also use hedging instruments, derivative instruments like futures and options, right? Now here your clear goal is to benefit from price fluctuation. Maybe there is an impending announcement, or there are quarterly results coming out, or you think Russia Ukraine war or any other macro situation is going to change something when it comes to equity markets. Then you usually use these instruments to kind of hedge against the risk, right? So those are considered trading, and they'll be reported as business profession income, right? And business profession income is taxed at slab rates in India. Now the thing about business profession income is when you consider anything business, you can also claim deductions like any expenses that you incur, starting from setting up your trading desk to buying a computer, or purchasing a subscription to learn about trading, to mobile bills and utility bills if you are using mobile phone or electricity in your office, especially for your trading business. You can claim all of those as expenses, and they are deductible from your taxable income. So I think this, at a very high level, helps everyone understand different income heads and tax rates applicable on those. I think I'll very quickly go through losses. I mean, nobody likes to talk about losses. I know that. We hope our viewers, investors in general in India, never incur losses, but that's not the reality of markets, right? When you invest in markets, you take the
नहीं,
risk.
अगर थोड़े हो जाते हैं तो आई थिंक ये इट हेल्प्स यू अ लॉट आपको एडजस्ट करने के लिए। एंड आई एम श्योर कोई ऐसा इन्वेस्टर या फिर ट्रेडर नहीं होगा जिसके पोर्टफोलियो में लॉसेस नहीं होंगे। बट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पीपल कि आप एक जब आप अपने रिटर्न्स फाइल कर रहे हो उसके 1 महीने पहले आप देखो कि आपके कौन-कौन से ऐसे स्टॉक्स हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हैं जहाँ पे आपको एक्चुअली लॉसेस हो रहे हैं व्हिच यू कैन सेट इट ऑफ। तो आपको उसका भी बेनिफिट मिलता है एंड टाइमली आप अपने लॉसेस को भी बुक करना आप सीख जाते हो। एंड
No,
ऑल्सो आई
absolutely.
बिलीव विश्वजीत, सॉरी, आई ऑल्सो बिलीव दैट बहुत सारे लोग के पास ये क्वेरी है कि आपको कौन सा फॉर्म इसके लिए करना है, उसके लिए करना है। आई बिलीव कि क्विको पे अगर आप एक साथ सब डॉक्यूमेंट्स अपलोड कर देते हैं देन यू डोंट हैव टू लाइक पुल आउट वन फॉर्म, राइट? यू डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट द फॉर्म्स,
Absolutely.
व्हिच
So I think
हम लोग इसके बारे में भी आगे बात करेंगे। आई एम सो सॉरी विश्वजीत, कंटिन्यू।
no, sorry, Devanshi. Oftentimes, there are so many questions related to taxes,
या
and you don't know which one to start first with. So you are absolutely right. I think losses are reality. There is no way you can avoid them. I don't think anybody can consistently make profits in the markets, right? So hence it's inevitable that we learn how to deal with them, not just not just in terms of investing philosophy, but also when it comes to taxes. And like you said, I think kafi frequently, Devanshi, what people end up arguing is these are losses. I don't owe any taxes to government, so why should I worry about reporting them, right? And that's where people make the biggest mistake, right? If you don't report losses, you are essentially foregoing those losses. So if you have any other incomes that they can be set off against, or in future, let's say you make gains, right? Like we saw a tremendous bull run between COVID and last year, and if you consistently made profits, then you can essentially set off those losses against those profits and reduce your taxability. So I think very quickly, capital losses that arise out of sale of capital assets, they are considered capital losses, and there are, like we said, there are long-term gains and short-term gains. Same way, there are long-term losses and short-term losses. So long-term losses can only be adjusted against long-term gains. However, short-term losses can be adjusted either against capital long-term gains or short-term gains. Right now, oftentimes people ask why this discrimination. Again, like income tax act is very commonsensical. यहाँ पे ये बताना चाह रहा है कि जो लॉन्ग टर्म लॉसेस है वो लोअर रेट के लॉसेस है, तो इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट डजंट वांट यू टू सेट इट ऑफ अगेंस्ट हायर रेट के गेन्स लाइक शॉर्ट टर्म गेन्स, राइट? However, short-term losses are already higher rate K losses, so they are okay with you setting them off. But more importantly, capital losses cannot be set off against any other income heads. And आप पूछेंगे क्यों? So essentially, income tax department feels that this is investing activity and you took a risk in capital markets, so you cannot offset that risk against your salary income. As a government, I am not taking risk. I still want those tax money on your salary or your other incomes. So you taking risk in capital markets, you can only offset them against other profits that you may make from capital markets, right? So that's very commonsensical. Now coming to business professional losses, right? Any losses arising out of intraday trading or derivative trading, those are called business professional losses, and they can be set off against any other gains or profits or incomes except salary. Primarily because अगर आप बिजनेस प्रोफेशन के लॉसेस सैलरी के अगेंस्ट अलाउ कर दोगे, तो काफी लोग उसका मिसयूज करेंगे. They'll say I have X amount of salary, but I'm running this small business and I've incurred losses. I'll offset it against salary. So that's not allowed. But otherwise, you can set them off against other income heads, including you can set off intraday के losses against other intraday incomes. But जैसे कि derivative के losses, you can also set off against capital gains if you have. So I think that clarifies losses cut treatment for people. More importantly, Devanshi, a lot of people don't know that they can carry forward these losses, right? So they think that इस साल अगर दूसरी कोई इनकम नहीं है तो वो लॉसेस का कोई यूज नहीं है, यूटिलिटी नहीं है. However, what you can do is you can file and report them in your income tax return, and you can carry them forward for subsequent years. So like I was saying, if you had gains in if you had good bull run like last few years we saw, then previous years ka losses can be set off against those incomes. So I think
और आप
that
कितने साल कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर सकते हैं अपने लॉसेस?
So that's a very good question. Oftentimes people are confused. Broadly, what I want people to remember is 8 years. You can carry forward losses for up to 8 years. The only exception is intraday losses. Intraday losses you can only carry them forward for 4 years. Cool. So I think text loss harvesting thoda untimely hai, but we get ton of questions about it. Oftentimes people hear it all over coffee table discussions, yeah, in Reddit threads and things like that. So we get a lot of questions. I wanted to very quickly cover the topic. आई थिंक आप में से काफी लोग ये जानते होंगे कि लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स कंप्लीटली एग्जेम्प्ट थे इंडिया में अप अंटिल 2018. देन नाउ लेट फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर अरुण जेटली essentially abolished 1038 section 1038 जिसमें लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स एग्जेम्प्ट थे and introduced new section called 112A. Now काफी ट्रेडर इन्वेस्टर्स ये सेक्शन 112A का लिंगो यूज करते हैं. This section 112A में you now instead of long-term capital gains being completely exempt, up to 1 lakh rupees का long-term gains are exempt to safeguard the small investors. If it's more than 1 lakh, then up to first 1 lakh will be exempt, and for on the rest you will have to still pay 10% long-term capital gains, right? So what we see, a lot of smart investors essentially if they don't have a lot of capital gains, they have unrealized capital gains, then they realize those capital gains up to 1 lakh rupees to take advantage of tax exemption, right? I think it's a very smart thing to do. It's called tax gain harvesting, right? So if you this year when comes March, and if you have long-term gains less than 1 lakh rupees, or even if you have more than 1 lakh rupees, what you can do is you can realize those gains up to 1 lakh rupees, and you can that's essentially tax-free returns, right? Now tax loss harvesting is a little different, where if you have realized losses and you have some unrealized gains in your portfolio, then during towards the end of financial year, you can realize those gains and offset them against the losses, and that's called tax loss harvesting, right? So ये काफी ब्लैक बॉक्स रहता है यूजर्स के लिए, एंड ऑफन टाइम्स only HNIs को accessible रहता है through tax consultants and things like that. But if you go onto our platform, you'll get to learn more about tax loss harvesting. I think gifting of shares, Devanshi, हमें most frequently asked question है. And I know काफी platforms, brokerages allow करते हैं gifting of shares. I've seen this new trend के जहाँ पे wedding पे parents are gifting shares instead of jewelry or car, because of course what better gift to give than financial independence. So काफी frequently हमें ये questions आते हैं हमारे customers से, हमारे users से. And काफी लोग काफी confused भी होते हैं because they hear a lot of different things. So I wanted to very quickly cover this topic. I think when we talk about gifting of shares, we have to talk about two things, right? One is क्या gift amount 50,000 से ज़्यादा है या कम है, and the second thing is जिसको आप gift दे रहे हो, अगर आप sender हो या अगर आप receiver हो, तो आप जिससे गिफ्ट रिसीव कर रहे हो क्या वो आपका रिलेटिव है कि नहीं, राइट? एंड रिलेटिव से आई मीन ब्लड रिलेटिव और स्पाउस, राइट? So now if you understand these two things, then it becomes really simple. If the gift amount is less than 50,000 rupees, in the interest of this discussion, let's consider that all our viewers are receivers, right? And hence we want to know अगर हमें जो गिफ्ट रिसीव हुआ है वो टैक्सेबल है कि नहीं. तो इफ दैट गिफ्ट इज लेस देन 50,000 रुपीज तो कंप्लीटली एग्जेम्प्ट है, चाहे आपने वो ब्लड रिलेटिव या अदरवाइज किसी और से भी रिसीव किया हो, राइट? लेट्स से वेडिंग पे फ्रेंड्स ने गिफ्ट किए शेयर्स, तो वो भी टैक्स एग्जेम्प्ट है एज लॉन्ग एज दे आर अंडर 50,000 रुपीज. नाउ यू मे आस्क के अगर मैंने सेल ही नहीं किया है तो हाउ डू आई डिटरमाइन द प्राइसिंग? ऑफ कोर्स मार्क टू मार्केट, व्हाटएवर इज द लास्ट ट्रेडेड प्राइस on 31st March, उसके basis पे you can ascertain the price of that gift. Now when we talk about a gift amount greater than 50,000, so in that case you have to remember the second rule, whether it is relative or non-relative, right? If it's relative, then it's still exempt, even if it's more than 50,000 rupees. However, if it's not received from relative, then it will be considered income from other sources, and you'll have to pay tax on it. Which essentially income from other sources is taxed at slab rate. सो काफी लोग ऑफन टाइम्स ये भी कंफ्यूज होता है कि व्हाट इफ आई सेल, ये गिफ्ट में जो मुझे शेयर्स रिसीव हुए हैं उन्हें अगर मैं सेल करूंगा तो उस पर भी क्या टैक्सेबिलिटी नहीं होगी, या क्या वो भी एग्जेम्प्ट होंगे? तो वहां पे थोड़ा आपको ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा. सो व्हेन यू रिसीव दिस गिफ्ट, it's completely tax exempt. However, when you sell them, you will have to pay capital gains just like any other shares, right? The only small caveat is कि आपको इसमें बेनिफिट ये रहेगा कि इसका परचेस प्राइस विल नॉट बी दी ओरिजिनल प्राइस. लेट्स से आपके पेरेंट्स ने या आपके ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स ने ये शेयर्स आपको गिफ्ट किए. तो इस केस में आपके ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स ने लेट्स से 1990s में यू नो Infosys में इन्वेस्ट किया था. आई होप everybody invested in Infosys in 1990s, right? But अगर आज आपको वो गिफ्ट मिले हैं, आपने वो शेयर सेल किए, तो आपको सिर्फ कैपिटल गेन्स पे करना है कि व्हेन यू रिसीव्ड इट उस टाइम पे फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू क्या थी, एंड व्हेन यू सोल्ड इट उस टाइम पे उसकी ट्रेडिंग प्राइस क्या थी. उसका डिफरेंस इज व्हाट you need to pay taxes upon. So I think their income tax department gives you this relief. You don't have to pay from the beginning of time when your parents or grandparents or whoever gifted those shares purchased them, but you only have to pay taxes on when you received it and when you sold it. Awesome. So I think ये बहुत ही common. Now I think tax documents के बारे में देवांशी आप पूछ रहे थे. काफी लोगों को कंफ्यूजन होता है. इवन इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट के यूटिलिटीज पे फर्स्ट थिंग आपको करना पड़ता है इज टू, ये काफी हम जिसको काफी एग्जिस्टेंशियल क्वेश्चन है कि कौन सा ITR फॉर्म आपको फाइल करना है, राइट? एंड लॉट ऑफ यंग इन्वेस्टर्स, ट्रेडर्स, फर्स्ट टाइम फाइलर्स, दे डोंट नो अबाउट डिफरेंट ITR फॉर्म्स. सो if you come onto Quicko, you don't have to, or a lot of other platforms today you don't have to tell which ITR form you want to file. Based on your income situation, the platform itself decides it for you, right? So I think that makes things really easy for you. All you need to do is कि आपके जो income sources है, आपके जो investments है, वो आप sufficiently disclose करें. Now इनमें से काफी सारे documents काफी commonly known है, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. बट कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट्स पे मेरे को थोड़ा ज्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करना था, एंड वन ऑफ देम इज एनुअल इन्फॉर्मेशन स्टेटमेंट. सो इफ आई कैन डायरेक्टली जंप टू इट इन इंटरेस्ट ऑफ टाइम. सो एनुअल इन्फॉर्मेशन स्टेटमेंट देवांशी, हमारा डिस्कशन हो रहा था, उसमें मैं आपको बता रहा था कि ये सिंगल मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट टैक्स डॉक्यूमेंट है जो काफी लोगों को नहीं पता है. इट्स लाइक एन ओपन सीक्रेट. एंड व्हाई इज इट सो इम्पॉर्टेंट? इट्स बिकॉज इफ यू रिमेंबर, काफी टाइम से इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट आधार पैन लिंकिंग का डेडलाइन अनाउंस कर रहा था एंड एक्सटेंड कर रहा था, जो कि लास्ट में 30 जून थी. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ आधार एंड पैन का लिंकेज, नाउ लॉट ऑफ डेटा flows to income tax department, right? What kind of data I'm talking about? I'm talking about banks का savings interest का data. If companies or AMCs आपको dividend pay कर रहे हैं तो वो data. If आप stock transaction कर रहे हो brokerages से तो वो CDSL and NSDL जो दो depositories है वहाँ से contract notes flow back to income tax department. If you are making international remittances, so banks report that data. So all of that data now flows back to income tax department and it reflects into something called AIS, annual information statement. ये आप बहुत easily अपने income tax account में login करके download कर सकते हैं. Now,
one important question, Vishvajit. In fact, this question is for our viewers also. अगर किसी को पता है ये चीज, क्योंकि ये जो query है ये सबको आती है कहीं ना कहीं, और स्पेशली उन लोगों को जो सबसे पहले तो इनको इनकम टैक्स फाइल करना बहुत खंटाला आता है कि यार व्हाट इज दिस, व्हाई एवरी ईयर हैव टू सेट दिस. ओके, द क्वेश्चन इज AIS और AS26 में डिफरेंस क्या है?
Very
yeah, if you're like covering it ahead, please go ahead, Vishvajit, वरना फिर ये clarity चाहिए. And viewers, in case you guys also know it, please type in the comment section.
No, this is the right time to answer that question. I know I skipped Form 26AS, and there's a hidden message there. Increasingly, Form 26 is becoming less and less important document. पहले फॉर्म 26 एएस इज वेयर आपके सारे टैक्स क्रेडिट्स, बी इट आपके एम्प्लॉयर ने टीडीएस डिडक्ट किया है या आपने सेल्फ असेसमेंट टैक्स या एडवांस टैक्स पे किया है, अलॉन्ग विद दैट काफी स्पेसिफाइड फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस, जैसे कि आपने प्रॉपर्टी सेल की है, तो ये सब फॉर्म 26 एएस में फ्लो हो रहा था डेटा. However, lately that income tax department slowly and gradually form 26 AS को deprecate कर रहा है, and वो सारा डेटा मूव हो रहा है एनुअल इन्फॉर्मेशन स्टेटमेंट में. सो आज ऐसा कोई डेटा नहीं है जो फॉर्म 26 एएस में हो बट एआईएस में नहीं हो. सो in Venn diagram theory, AIS is a superset of Form 26 AS, right? So AIS has all the data that you need. You don't have to refer to Form 26 AS. That doesn't mean if you don't have any of these other transaction and only salaried ho and आपका TDS credits आपको देखना है, तो Form 26 AS is still a great document to go and visit. We oftentimes ask our users that you should always keep an eye on your Form 26 AS. Make sure that other people who are making payments to you after deducting TDS are depositing that TDS with income tax department or not. But did I answer that question, Devanshi? Do you think did you have any follow-up question?
Not really. So there was just one question कि how do you access this AIS information? I think income tax के साइट से आपको बहुत ही आसानी से मिल जाता है ये चीज़, आप डाउनलोड कर सकते हो. I think more of it ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो जाती है कि AIS is more of like आपको बहुत आसानी से इट्स लाइक अ जीपे ट्रांजैक्शन. आपको पता है कि आपके 10 रुपए भी अगर आपने गवर्नमेंट को पे किए हैं नाउ बिकॉज आप सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स लिंक करते हो, तो यू इजीली नो कि आपके कितने टैक्स आपने दिए हैं गवर्नमेंट को. यू डोंट हैव टू लाइक सिट एंड बर्न योर आईज कि इतना पे किया है इतना पे किया. आई थिंक दैट इज ऑल्सो समथिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड इट इज लाइक वेरी इजी नाउ.
हम काफी एक्साइटेड है देवांशी अबाउट एआईएस. आई नो काफी लोग ऐसा सोच रहे होंगे कि ये सारा डेटा इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट को पता है हमारे बारे में. आई कांट हेल्प विद दैट. बट इंक्रीजिंगली इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट का गोल ये है कि ये सिंगल डिफैक्टो डॉक्यूमेंट बन जाए, and hopefully in future taxpayers don't even have to file their income tax return. They just have to acknowledge their AIS, right? Okay, whatever information income tax department has on them, do they agree with it or not? If you agree with it, then income tax department can calculate taxes and determine your taxability, and if you have tax credits, then they can automatically issue refund. So in my opinion, this is the most important document, and I think it's important, is only bound to grow. I think capital gain statements and tax P&L statement is very important for our audience, Devanshi, because काफी इनमें से investor traders हैं, and more importantly on tax P&L statement, right? So tax P&L statement आप अपने broker platform पे login होके download कर सकते हैं, and ये essentially ये आपका ledger है of all your realized profits and losses, right? Be it in equity delivery या mutual funds SIPs आप कर रहे हो, या फिर आप इंट्राडे एफएनओ ट्रेडिंग कर रहे हो, इन सब के रियलाइज प्रॉफिट एंड लॉसेस आपको आपके टैक्स पीएनएल स्टेटमेंट में मिल जाएंगे. एंड ये टैक्स पीएनएल स्टेटमेंट इज व्हाट एसेंशियली यू नीड टू आइदर प्रोवाइड टू अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट और एन ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म लाइक क्विको, सो वी कैन लुक एट दिस स्टेटमेंट एंड वी कैन डिटरमाइन कि आपके कैपिटल गेन्स कितने हैं, आपके बिजनेस प्रोफेशन इनकम्स कितने हैं, उस पर टैक्सेबिलिटी क्या है, एंड वी कैन हेल्प यू रिपोर्ट योर इनकम योर ट्रेडिंग एंड इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटी इनटू योर इनकम टैक्स रिटर्न. Like I said, अगर आप इंट्राडे या एफएनओ ट्रेडिंग कर रहे हैं उसे आप बिजनेस प्रोफेशन इनकम रिपोर्ट करते हैं, तो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट ऑल्सो टू नोटिस दैट योर टैक्स पीएनएल स्टेटमेंट इज वेयर ब्रोकर विल लिस्ट डाउन ऑल दी एक्सपेंसेस, राइट? जो भी ब्रोकरेजेस चार्ज हुए या स्टैम्प ड्यूटी पे हुआ है, there is clearing charges from clearing houses, there are exchange transaction fees, all of those will be covered into tax P&L statement. So I think ITR forms is the last one, Devanshi, I would like to cover, and then I think we can move to Q&A. Maybe towards the end I can also show users how to use Quicko. But ITR forms very simple. I think काफी times लोग confuse हो जाते हैं काफी सारे articles read करके, but there are 4 simple ITR forms. ITR 1 is for salaried individuals. ITR 2 is for anybody having capital gains. ITR 3 is if you have business profession income. And ITR 4 is something called presumptive taxation scheme, right? Now, all these ITR are accumulative in the sense जो भी आप ITR 1 में कर सकते हो वो सब ITR 2 में कर सकते हो. In addition to that आप capital gains report कर सकते हो. जो भी आप ITR 1 and 2 में कर सकते हो वो सारी चीजें आप ITR 3 में कर सकते हो. Additionally आप business profession income वहां पे report कर सकते हो. Now ITR 4 is again another one of those open secrets. काफी लोग इसके बारे में नहीं जानते हैं. ये गवर्नमेंट का एक टैक्स स्कीम है जिसमें माइक्रो बिजनेसेस इसका काफी अच्छे से एडवांटेज ले सकते हैं. स्पेशली लॉट ऑफ ट्रेडर इन्वेस्टर्स कैन क्वालिफाई इनटू माइक्रो बिजनेसेस, राइट? सो anybody whose business turnover is less than 2 crore, जैसे हमने बोला कि इंट्राडे एफएनओ ट्रेडिंग एक्टिविटी विल बी कवर्ड अंडर बिजनेस प्रोफेशन इनकम. तो अगर आपका टर्नओवर 2 करोड़ से कम है तो what government is saying, income tax department is saying, if you are willing to report 6% of that turnover, so let's say 2 crore, so 6% of that turnover will be 12 lakh rupees. If you are willing to consider 12 lakh rupees as your profit and pay taxes on it, then I don't want to look into your books, whether you are maintaining books of accounts or not. You don't need to get your profits, your books of accounts audited by chartered accountant. And you can file a very simple income tax return where you can say this is my turnover and 6% of it is my profit, right? Now, yes, a lot of people may ask, what if I have losses? Can I take advantage of presumptive? The answer is no. If you have losses, why would you want to pay taxes on 6% of your turnover? In that case, you should file ITR 3, report those losses and carry forward them. So these are the different ITR forms. If you use Quicko, like I said, you don't have to choose ITR forms. So I think, Devanshi, these are most common things that I wanted to come here and talk about with audiences. Tax audit, I think tax audit investors को नहीं applicable है. Traders को तभी ही applicable है जब आपका turnover in excess of 10 crore हो, जो कि काफी rare case में होता है. And हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे जो यूजर्स आते हैं तो उनका एवरेज टर्नओवर अराउंड 50 to 60 लाख है. नाउ लेट मी टेल यू कि हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे ऑलमोस्ट 1.5 मिलियन इन्वेस्टर ट्रेडर्स हैं. वी गेट हंड्रेड्स ऑफ मिलियंस ऑफ ट्रेड्स. सो एवरेज ट्रेडिंग वॉल्यूम व्हाट वी हैव सीन इज अराउंड 50 to 60 लाख. सो ज्यादातर ट्रेडर इन्वेस्टर को ये एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा अनलेस एंड अनटिल आपके लॉसेस है या आपके प्रॉफिट 6% से कम है of your turnover and आपने any of the previous 5 years presumptive taxation scheme का benefit लिया है, तो वहां पे एक छोटा सा caveat है कि जहां पे आपको tax audit करवाना पड़ेगा even if your turnover is less than 10 CR. But most of our customers, investors, traders that come to our platform essentially don't, 1 in maybe 20 have to go for tax audit. So I think with this, I want to hand it over back to you, Devanshi. If you have questions, if viewers have questions, I would be more than happy to answer. And then maybe, towards the end of it, I can spend a couple of minutes showing people how to use Quicko.
So 1 or 2 questions I think we have discussed. बहुत सारे questions बीच में. Someone is asking, अगर intraday और swing trading 2 महीने पहले start किया है, do you have to file income tax? Yes. You definitely have to. आप कोई भी situation में आपको income tax file करना है. That is the line कि आपको income tax तो file करना है. You can't miss that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Second is like, can the expenses like STT be claimed as expenses? No, those are taxes. तो obviously वो आपके tax, वो जो taxes आपने pay किए हैं वो government के होते हैं. That are not your expenses. Please mind, जो आप taxes pay करते हो like the GST और आप indirectly जो भी taxes pay करते हो, obviously you can't put them as taxes. And we had, I think और कोई अगर important question है, I'll definitely share it with you. And
आपने जो एक दो चीज बोली उसमें I'll like to add few more things. So जैसे कि काफी लोगों को कंफ्यूजन होता है कि कुछ लोग बोलते हैं एसटीटी क्लेम कर सकते हो, कुछ लोग बोलते हैं कि एसटीटी क्लेम नहीं कर सकते हो एज एन एक्सपेंस. तो वहां पे जब आप कैपिटल गेन्स इनकम रिपोर्ट करते हो तो आप एसटीटी क्लेम नहीं कर सकते हो as an expense because like Devanshi said वो tax है and tax cannot be claimed as an expense. However, जब आप business profession income report करते हो like intraday या FNO report करते हो and वहाँ पे अगर आपने STT या CTT पे किया है वहाँ पे अगर आपने जीएसटी पे किया है, स्टैम्प ड्यूटी पे की है, तो वो आपके बिजनेस एक्सपेंसेस में आप उनको क्लेम कर सकते हो। लेट्स से आपने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को लीगल फीस पे की है, प्रोफेशनल फीस पे की है, तो वो भी आप एज एन एक्सपेंस क्लेम कर सकते हो। तो वो एक एक छोटा सा कैविएट था। And I think I can very quickly show you how, if you are a 5 paisa customer, how you can quickly come on to Quicko and do your taxes if everybody's up for it. Shall I, Devanshi?
Sure, sure. Quickly.
Awesome.
Let's go through that.
So um, I will very quickly start by logging in. So I think a lot of people, if you don't know already, then you can go to quicko.com. We also have a microsite for all the 5paisa users called 5paisa.quicko.com. Where you can also take advantage of exclusive coupons, discounts available to 5paisa customers. Now, when you click on sign in, this is what our customers love. Just like all the other platforms, you can log in using Google or email password, but you can also log in using your Demat account or your broker, right? And 5paisa is an integrated broker, so you can take advantage of the integration. So very quickly, I'll put in, we have a test account, so I'll try to use that in order to show you the demo. So I've logged into my 5paisa account, and what happens is essentially my 5paisa account gets linked to Quicko. As a investor trader, you can link your 5paisa account to Quicko, and that means you don't have to go through onboarding. You don't have to put in your PAN and your personal information. Through this integration and through your consent, we are able to get some of that information. In my case, because my account was already set up. But what most importantly I wanted to show you is that Quicko is a platform. Devanshi was also asking me. Quicko is a platform where you can not only do tax filing, but you can also do tax planning. If you are a trader investor, then that means paying advance taxes on time. We see almost 90% of trader investor having interest penalties for advance taxes, right? You might think you ended a year at loss, but the way advance taxes on capital gains work is they are on accrual basis. So अगर first quarter में आपके profits थे, तो you are still liable to pay advance tax. Now, what our customers most love about is our integrations, right? You can connect your Quicko account with your brokerages. You can connect it with your crypto platforms or your HRMS platforms, or even for that matter, with your tax accounts. And import data, right? And if I go to capital gains, it immediately presents that choice to me that I can import data from my broker. I'll simply click on import from 5paisa, and I'll choose 5paisa as a broker. Because I'm already logged in, it will not ask me to log in again. And now what's happening here is Quicko is reading PNL from your 5paisa Demat account. At any given time, if you don't want to keep this access and you want to revoke it, you can simply go to your account and you can go to integrations and you can revoke the integration, right? So that's within your control if you don't want to keep the integration on. But otherwise, like I said, instantly, this is my test account, so my team must have done few transactions. Don't judge me based on the scripts that you see on my screen. No puns intended, but it immediately calculates PNL arising out of all those different segments and presents it to me in a very nice manner. I don't have to upload any Excels. I don't have to manually type in any trades. If you have multiple Demat accounts, then just by simply clicking on add, and you can choose the next Demat account, right? So it's so easy. Apart from that, if you have Form 16, you can upload it, but more importantly now, from prefill JSON, you can easily import your data from income tax department. So if you are looking to file your income tax returns, if you haven't filed them already, 31st July is the due date, and you can very easily do it yourself on Quicko. Just in case you need any help, we have something called Meet, which is our online tax advisory, where you can connect with a chartered accountant in a Google Meet. They'll using our product guide you, teach you, and file your taxes. It's really a fun way to do your taxes. So I hope that helps everyone do the taxes this year. Over to you, Devanshi, again.
परफेक्ट विश्वजीत। सो आई गेस बहुत सारे डाउट्स हैं जो क्लियर हो गए होंगे। पंकज, आपको इसके लिए क्विको पे जाना पड़ेगा और आपकी जो टैक्स लायबिलिटी है वो आपको खुद चेक करनी पड़ेगी। वी कांट कैलकुलेट इट फॉर यू, सो क्विको कैन डू इट वेरी इजीली इन लाइक फ्यू सेकेंड्स। देन व्हाट आर द एक्सपेंसेस आई कैन क्लेम बाय अ रेगुलर ट्रेडर? Vishwajit, anything?
So of course, apart from all the expenses that you see in your P&L statement, like I said, this is a business activity. So any and all expenses related to you conducting that business activity. If you needed to rent an office in order to do trading, so you can also claim rent as an expense. If you were light bill, utility bills, like I said, internet bills, mobile phone bills, if you bought a subscription, a lot of people are learning trading themselves online through online courses. You can claim all of those as expenses.
All right. So guys, I think we'll end up with this. अगर आपके अभी भी कोई queries हैं, do not worry, आप हमें comment section में पूछ सकते हैं. We'll reply you. And anytime if you want to get in touch with Quicko, we'll do that as well. So do not worry about that as well. एक और चीज, इस बार हम लोगों ने सिर्फ रिटर्न्स पर फोकस किया है सिंस इट्स अ ITR सीजन. गोइंग अहेड वी अंडरस्टैंड कि जब आप डिक्लेयर करते हो, अपने टैक्सेस प्लानिंग करते हो, तभी भी आपको जरूरत पड़ती है. एंड दैट इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट टाइम्स, जस्ट लाइक रिटर्न्स फाइल करना. काफ़ी लोगों को तब भी समझ में नहीं आता है, तो अगेन विल गेट बैक टू यू और एक और वेबिनार लेके आएंगे इफ़ यू गाइज आर इंटरेस्टेड कि आपको अपना जो डिक्लेरेशन है वो कैसे करनी है, कहाँ पे आपको इन्वेस्ट करना है, वगैरह वगैरह. सो विश्वजीत, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग विद अस टुडे. And viewers, thank you so much for joining with us today evening. Have a great evening, Vishwajit. Thank you. And guys,
Thank you so
happy
much.
ITR season. Do not forget to file your income tax returns.
Awesome. Happy tax filing season to everyone. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Vishwajit. Thank you. Bye bye,
Yes.
people. Thank you.